The Hebrew Bible, 5 books of Moses. Exodus, chapter 36. And Moses called Bezalel and Oholiab, and every wise-hearted man in whose heart the Lord had given wisdom, every one whose heart moved him, to approach the task to do it. And they took from before Moses all the donation that the Israelites had brought for the task of the holy book, work to do it, and they on their part brought more freewill gifts morning after morning. And all the wise people who were doing the holy task came, each man from his task he was doing. And they said to Moses, saying, the people are bringing too much for the work of the task that the Lord charged to do. And Moses charged, and they sent word through the camp, saying, let each man and woman do not further task for the holy donation. And the people were held back from bringing, and the task was enough to do all the task, and more. And every wise-hearted man among the doers of the task made the tabernacle. 10 panels of twisted linen and indigo and purple and crimson, 2 cherubim, designer's work, they made them. The length of the one panel 28 cubits, and the width 4 cubits to the panel, a single measure for all the panels. And they joined the 5 panels one to another. 5 panels they joined one to another. And they made indigo loops along the edge of the outermost panel in the set, and those they did on the outermost panel in the other set. 50 loops they made in the one panel, and 50 loops they made in the outermost panel, which was in the other set. The loops opposite one another, and they made 50 golden clasps, and joined the panels to one another with the clasps, that the tabernacle became one whole. And they made goat hair panels for the tent over the tabernacle. 11 panels they made them. The length of the one panel 30 cubits, and the width 4 cubits to the panel, a single measure for the 11 panels. And they joined 5 of the panels by themselves, and 6 of the panels by themselves. And they made 50 loops along the edge of the outermost panel in the set, and 50 loops along the edge of the outermost panel in the other set. And they made 50 bronze clasps to join the tent to become one whole. And they made covering for the tent of reddened ram skins, and a covering of ochre-dyed skins above. And they made boards for the tabernacle of acacia wood, upright 10 cubits, the length of the board, and a cubit and a half the width of the single board. 2 tenons for the one board, linked to each other. Those they did for all the boards of the tabernacle. And they made the board for the tabernacle 20 boards for the southern end, and 40 silver sockets they made beneath the 20 boards, 2 sockets beneath the one board for its 2 tenons, and the 2 sockets beneath the one board for its 2 tenons. And in the other side of the tabernacle at the northern end 20 boards, and there 40 silver sockets, 2 sockets beneath the one board, and 2 sockets beneath the one board. And at the rear of the tabernacle to the west they made 6 boards. And they made 2 boards for the corners of the tabernacle at the rear, and they matched below, and together they ended at the top inside the one ring. Those they did for the 2 of them at the 2 corners. And there were 8 boards with their silver sockets, 60 sockets, 2 sockets beneath the one board. And they made 5 crossboards of acacia wood for the boards of the one side of the tabernacle, and 5 crossboards for the boards of the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 crossboards for the boards of the tabernacle at the rear to the west. And they made the central crossbar to shoot through the boards from the end to end. And the boards they overlaid with gold, and their rings they made of gold, housing for the crossboards, and they overlaid the crossbars with gold. And they made the curtain of indigo and purple and crimson and twisted linen. Designer's work they made it with cherubim, and they made for it 4 acacia posts, and overlaid them with gold, their hooks gold, and they cast from them 4 silver sockets, and they made a screen for the entrance of the tent, indigo and purple and crimson and twisted linen, embroiderer's work, in its 5 posts and its hooks. And they overlaid their tops at their band with gold, and their 5 sockets with bronze. Chapter 37. And Bezalel made the ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits its length, and 1.5 cubits its width, and 1.5 cubits its height. And he overlaid it with pure gold, inside and outside. And he made it for it a gold molding all around. And he cast for it 4 golden rings on its 4 feet, and 2 rings on its one side, and 2 rings on its other side. And he made poles of acacia wood, and overlaid them with gold. And he brought the poles through the rings on the side of the ark to carry the ark. And he made a cover of pure gold, 2.5 cubits its length, and 1.5 cubits its width. And he made the cherubim of gold, hammered work. He made them. At the 2 edges of the cover, 1 cherub at one edge, and 1 cherub at the other edge. From the cover he made the cherubim at both his edges. The cherubim spread their wings above, shielding the cover of their wings, and their faces toward each other. Toward the cover their faces were. And he made the table of acacia wood, 2 cubits its length, and 1.5 cubits its width, and 1.5 cubits its height. And he overlaid it with pure gold, and made it for the gold molding all around. And he made a frame for it, a hand's breadth all around. And he made a golden molding for its frame all around. And he cast for it 4 golden rings, and set the rings at the 4 corners, which were at its 4 legs. Golden rings, and set the rings at the 4 corners, which were at its 4 legs, facing the frame. The rings were as housing for the poles to carry the table. And he made the poles of acacia wood, and overlaid them with gold to carry the table. And he made the vessels that were on the table, its bowls, and its shovels, and its chalices, and its jars, from which libation is done, pure gold. And he made the lamp stand of pure gold, hammered work. He made the lampstand, its base and its shaft, its cups, its calyxes, and its blossoms were from that work. And 6 shafts going out from its sides, 3 shafts of the lampstand from its one side, and 3 shafts of the lampstand from its other side. 3 cups shaped like almond blossoms in the one shaft, calyx and blossom, and 3 cups shaped like almond blossoms in the other shaft. And those for the 6 shafts that go out from the lampstand. And on the lampstand were 4 cups shaped like almond blossoms, their calyxes and their blossoms, and a calyx under every 2 shafts as part of it, and a calyx under every 2 shafts as part of it, a calyx under every 2 shafts as part of it. For the 6 shafts coming out of the lampstand, their calyxes and their shafts were part of it. All of it one hammered work, pure gold. And he made its 7 lamps, and its tongs, and its fine bands, pure gold. With a talent of pure gold he made it, and all its furnishings. And he made the altar for burning incense of acacia wood, 1 cubit its length, and 1 cubit its width, square, and 2 cubits its height. From the same piece its horns, and he overlaid it with pure gold, its roof and its walls all around, and its horns, and he made for it gold molding all around. 2 golden rings he made for it beneath its molding on its 2 flanks as housings for the poles with which to carry it. And he made the poles of acacia wood, and overlaid them with gold. And he made the holy anointing oil and the pure aromatic incense, perfumer's work. Chapter 38. And he made the burnt offering altar of acacia wood, 5 cubits its length, and 5 cubits its width, square, and 3 cubits its length. And he made its horns on its 4 corners from the same piece were its horns, and overlaid it with bronze. And he made all the vessels of the altar, and the pails, and the shovels, and the basins, and the flesh hooks, and the fire pans, all its vessels he made of bronze. And he made a meshwork bronze grating for the altar beneath its ledge from below halfway up. And he cast 4 rings at the 4 corners of the bronze gratings as housings for the poles. And he made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with bronze. And he brought the poles through the rings on the sides of the altar to carry it. Hollow boarded he made it. And he made the laver of bronze and its stand of bronze from the mirrors of the women who flocked to the entrance of the tent of meeting. And he made the cord for the southern side. The hangings of the cord were twisted linen 100 cubits, their posts 20 and their sockets 20 of bronze. The hooks of the posts and their bands were silver. And for the northern side 100 cubits, their posts were 20 and their sockets 20 of bronze. The hooks of the posts and their bands were silver. And for the western side hangings of its 50 cubits, their posts 10 and their sockets 10. The hooks of the posts and the bands were silver. And to the very east 50 cubits hangings of 15 cubits to the flank, their posts 3 and their sockets 3. And for the other flank on each side of the gate of the court hangings of 15 cubits, their posts 3 and their sockets 3. All the hangings of the court all around were twisted linen, and the sockets for the posts were bronze, the hooks of the posts and their bands silver, and the overlay of their tops silver, and they were banded with silver, all the posts of the court. And the screen of the gate of the court was embroiderer's work, indigo and purple and crimson and twisted linen, and it was 20 cubits in length and a height, and the width of 5 cubits over against the hangings of the court. And the posts 4 and their sockets 4 of bronze. Their hooks were silver, and the overlay of their tops and their bands silver, and all the pegs for the tabernacle and for the court all around were bronze. These are the reckonings of the tabernacle of the covenant, that were reckoned by the word of Moses, the service of the Levites in the hand of Ithamar, son of Aaron the priest, and Bezalel, son of Uri, son of Hur, from the tribe of Judah, made all that the Lord had charged Moses, and with him was Oholiab, son of Ahisamach, from the tribe of Dan, woodcarver and designer and embroiderer, in indigo and in pure purple and in crimson and in linen. All the gold that was fashioned for the task in every task of the sanctuary, the elevation offering, gold was 29 talents, or 730 shekels, by the sanctuary shekel. And the silver reckoned from the community was 100 talents, or 1,775 shekels, by the sanctuary shekel. A beka to the head, half a shekel by the sanctuary shekel, for each who underwent the reckoning from 20 years old and above. For 600,000 and 3,550 and 100 talents of silver were for casting the sockets of the sanctuary and the sockets of the curtain, 100 sockets for 100 talents, a talent for a socket, and from the 1,775 shekels he made hooks for the 1,775 shekels he made hooks for the posts, and overlaid their tops and banded them. And the elevation offering bronze was 70 talents, or 2,400 shekels. And he made with it the sockets for the entrance of the tent of meeting, and the bronze altar, and the bronze grating that belongs to it, and all the furnishings of the altar, and the sockets of the court all around, and the sockets for the gate of the court, and all the pegs of the tabernacle, and all the pegs of the court all around. Chapter 39. And from the indigo, and the purple, and the crimson, they made service garments to serve the sanctuary, and they made the sacred garments that were arrows, as the Lord had charged Moses, And he made the ephod of gold, indigo, and purple, and crimson, and twisted linen. And they pounded out the sheets of gold and cut strands to work into the indigo, and into the purple, and into the crimson, and into the linen designer's work. Joining shoulder pieces they made for it at its two edges were joined, and the ornamented band that was on it was of a piece with it, fashioned like it, gold, indigo, and purple, and crimson, and twisted linen, as the Lord had charged Moses. And they made the carnelian stones ring with frames of gold, engraved with the seal engravings with the names of Israel's sons. And he set them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod, stones of remembrance for the sons of Israel, as the Lord had charged Moses. And he made the breastplate designer's work, like the work of the ephod, gold, indigo, and purple, and crimson, and the twisted linen. It was square. They made the breastplate doubled, and span its length, and span its width doubled, and they set it in front rows of stones, a row of ruby, topaz, and malachite, first row, and the second row turquoise, sapphire, and amethyst, and the third row jacinth, agate, and crystal, and the fourth row beryl, carnelian, and jasper, framed in gold in their settings. And the stones were according to the names of Israel's sons, 12 according to their names, seal engravings, each with its name for the 12 tribes. And they made on the breastplate intertwined cordwork chains of pure gold. And they made the 2 golden frames and 2 golden rings, and they set the 2 rings on the 2 edges of the breastplate, and they set the 2 golden cords on the 2 rings on the edges of the breastplate, and the 2 ends of the 2 cords they set in the 2 frames, and they set them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod at the front. And they made 2 golden rings and set them onto the edges of the breastplate at its border, which faces ephod on the inside. And they made 2 golden rings and set them onto the shoulder pieces of the ephod below and the front opposite its seams above the band of the ephod. And they fastened the breastplate from its rings to the rings of the ephod with an indigo strand to be upon the hand of the ephod, that the breastplate not slip from the ephod, as the Lord had charged Moses. And he made a robe for the ephod, weaver's work through and through indigo, and the opening of the robe in the middle of it like the opening of a coat of mail, a border for its opening all around, so it should not tear. And they made on the hem of the robe pomegranates of indigo and purple and crimson twisted linen. And they made bells of pure gold, and set the bells within the pomegranates on the hem of the robe all around. With the pomegranates, a bell, and a pomegranate, a bell, and a pomegranate on the hem of the robe all around, to serve as the Lord had charged Moses. And they made tunics of twisted linen, weaver's work, for Aaron and for his sons, and the turban, linen, and the ornaments of the headgear, linen, and the breeches of linen, twisted linen, and the sash, twisted linen, and the indigo and purple and crimson embroiderer's work, as the Lord had charged Moses. And they made a diadem, a sacred crown of pure gold, and wrote upon it seal engravings, inscription, Holy to the Lord. And they put on it an indigo strand to put on the turban above, as the Lord had charged Moses. And all the work of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting was completed, and the Israelites did all that the Lord had charged Moses to do, as they did. And they brought the tabernacle to Moses, the tent, and all its furnishings, its clasps, its boards, its crossbars, and its posts, and its sockets, and the covering of reddened ram skin, and the covering of ochre-dyed skins, and the curtain of the screen, the ark of the covenant, and its poles, and the cover, the table, and all its furnishings, and the bread of the presence, the pure lamp stand, its lamps, lamps of the array, and all its furnishings, and oil for the light, and the golden altar, and the anointing oil, and the aromatic incense, and the screen of the entrance of the tent, the bronze altar, and the bronze grating that belongs to it, its poles, and all the furnishings, the laver, and its stand, the hangings of the court, and its posts and its sockets, and the screen for the gate, and the court of the court, and its pegs, and all the furnishings of the service of the tabernacle for the tent of meeting, the service garments to serve, the sanctuary, and the sacred garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments of his sons to be priests. As all that the Lord had charged Moses to, the Israelites did all the work, and Moses saw all the tasks, and look, they had done it as the Lord had charged. Those they had done it, and Moses blessed them. Chapter 14. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, On the day of the first month, on the first of the month, you shall set up the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, and you shall put there the ark of the covenant, and screen the ark with a curtain. And you shall bring the table and lay out its array. And you shall bring the lampstand and light up its lamps. And you shall set the golden altar for the incense before its ark of the covenant. And you shall set up the screen for the entrance of the tabernacle. And you shall set the burnt offering altar before the entrance of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting. And you shall set the laver between the tent of meeting and the altar. And you shall set the water there. And you shall put up the court all around, and set up the screen of the court gate. And you shall take the anointing oil, and anoint the tabernacle, and all that is in it. And you shall consecrate it, and all its furnishings, that it be holy. And you shall anoint the burnt offering altar, and all its furnishings. And you shall consecrate the altar, that the altar be holy of holies. And you shall anoint the laver and its stand, and consecrate it. And you shall bring Aaron and his sons forward to the entrance of the tent of meeting, and bathe them in water. And you shall dress Aaron in the sacred garments, and anoint him, and consecrate him, that he be a priest too. And his sons you shall bring forward, and dress them in tunics, and you shall anoint them as you anointed their father, that they be priests to me. And their anointing shall become to them for them an everlasting priesthood for their generations. And Moses did all that the Lord had charged him, those he did. And it happened in the first month, in the second year, on the first of the month, that the tabernacle was set up. And Moses set up the tabernacle, and placed its sockets, and put up its boards, and fixed its crossbars, and set up its posts. And he spread the tent over the tabernacle, and put the covering of the tent over it from above, as the Lord had charged Moses. And he took and set the covenant in the ark, and he put the posts on the ark, and he set the cover over the ark from above. And he brought the ark into the tabernacle, and placed the curtain of the screen, and screened the ark of the covenant, as the Lord had charged Moses. And he set the table in the tent of meeting on the northern side of the tabernacle, outside the curtain. And he laid out on it the array of bread before the Lord, as the Lord had charged Moses. And he placed the lamp stand in the tent of meeting, opposite to the table, on the northern side of the tabernacle. And he lit up the lamps before the Lord, as the Lord had charged Moses. And he placed the golden altar in the tent of meeting before the curtain, and he burned it on aromatic incense, as the Lord had charged Moses. And he put up the screen for the entrance of the tabernacle, and he put up the burnt offerings altar before there at the entrance of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, and offered upon it the burnt offering and the grain offering, as the Lord had charged Moses. And he placed the laver between the tent of meeting and the altar, and he set water there for washing. Moses and Aaron and his sons washed their hands and their feet came into the tent of the meeting, and when they approached the altar, they would wash, as the Lord had charged Moses. And he set up the court around the tabernacle and the altar, and he placed the screen of the court gate, and Moses completed the task. And the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. And Moses could not come into the tent of meeting, for the cloud abode upon it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. And when the cloud went up from the tabernacle, from over the tabernacle, the Israelites would journey onward in all their journeyings. And if the cloud did not go up, they would not journey onward until the day it went up. For the Lord's cloud was over the tabernacle by day, and fire by night was in it, before the eyes of all the house of Israel in all their journeyings. End of chapter 40, end of Exodus.